Hi crafters! Good morning and welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Mandy and you can find me on the internet as Mandy Von Knits on Instagram and Ravelry. I am a 40-year-old woman and I live here in southeastern Michigan. I live here with my husband and my 2 kiddos, and I love to knit and I love to crochet. I love to machine knit. I love crafting in general. I love talking about all of the crafting and fiber arts and just all of that stuff. So if you love yarn and you love crafting, please stick around. I would love to have you here. So we're going to kind of get into everything today. It's 2026. I was going to say that, it's the beginning of January, but most importantly, it is 2026. Are you guys excited about it? Are you ready? Are you kind of like, meh? So what is your personality when it comes to the new year? Are you pumped up for it? Is it just another day? Do you make goals, resolutions? Do you like to kind of restart, kind of do a reset? I had heard a blog post and my friend she had read this out loud about basically doing a reset. And I thought that was a nice way to kind of think about it, to think about the new year and everything that a new year entails. So we're going to kind of talk about some things that I want to focus on this year for crafting, for knitting, crocheting, machine knitting in general. Spoiler alert, I generally tend to stick with things that I want to learn and places I want to improve. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. I have some exciting news about, let's see, I don't want to say knit along, but it's almost the thing that rolls off my tongue whenever I'm talking about it. But what I mean is a make along. I reached out to Karen from Bobblehead Knits, and I'm like, because I watch her podcast all the time, and I'm like, I really want to work through my stash yarn too, because she's been talking about the same thing that I've kind of been thinking. I want to work through my stash yarn. I want to kind of spend 2026 focusing on working with the yarn and loving the yarn that I have. So I reached out to her and I'm like, do you want to do a make along, like a used stash make along? And she's like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So we decided on a name and it was Yarn Stash Smash 2026. And stay tuned because we'll have more details to both of our channels coming soon. So if that sounds like something that interests you, if you guys are like me, and I don't know how to explain it. And this is the hard part that I have. I really want to focus on commercialism, spending, using what I have, utilizing the resources that I have. The yarn that I have is sitting in a box. It's not doing anybody any good. So I really want to kind of, utilize it. And I feel like that's what 2026 is going to be about. And I've decided, and I feel like, yes, that's a great idea. Now, keep in mind that I told my husband about this and he gave me a gift certificate to my favorite yarn dyer, Blackbird Sycamore yarn. He gave me one for Christmas. So you will see that later on in the year. I just wanted to prep you for that. But other than that, I would really like for this year to be focused on utilizing what I have and finding different ways to use my stash. I'm actually going to show you one in a couple of minutes, but I kind of wanted to go over the make along that we had scheduled first before anything else, before I forget, because I do have a little bit of admin to talk about, and we're going to go through the first thing that I want to mention. And you guys, all of the people that are regular and come by often, you know what this is. I am going to leave a blank spot right here. And if that was you, please reach out to me on either Instagram or Ravelry as Mandy Von Knits and let me know what pattern prize that you want. For everybody that's new here, I give away a digital prize pattern every podcast. And the way that you enter, you just leave a comment down below. Doesn't matter what the comment is. It's just for the random comment picker because I have to put in the video URL and then press a button. Well, to be fair, I put in the video URL and then I answer a math problem and then I click a button. But, I mean, you guys know what I mean. So I draw for a digital prize pattern, and the only two rules are that you can only win once a month and that the pattern prize has to be 15 USD or under. That's it. Just very simple. Come back, leave a comment, come back next week and see if you won. Okay. With all of that said, there is one more thing that I want to mention because I keep forgetting to mention this, guys. And I feel bad because every time I end the podcast, I'm like, oh no, I forgot again. So before we do anything else, before we talk about anything else, I just wanted to mention that if anybody is interested in Zoom knitting, I host it on, now I have to remember, I host it on Sunday and Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern. Now, if you go to my Ravelry group, you can get all of the Zoom knitting information up there. So I just wanted to mention that. Everybody's welcome. Come, stop by, say hi. Turn your camera on, don't turn your camera on. Say something, don't say something. Just listen to the chat talk. Either way, just wanted to throw that out there and let you guys know. And okay, now we're going to talk about the fiber arts and fiber crafts and all of that stuff. So I decided to do something different this week. And I have been making a lot of hats, and I do like making the hats, but I wanted to try to kind of go with a different flow this week. And I think I'm going to actually be doing this a little bit more, and I have an idea in my head, but let me show you what I made first. So I went and I had 3 skeins of this Red Heart Quilt Motif yarn, and it is 250 grams. It is like 440 yards, somewhere around there. I'm gonna put up the information on the screen, and I had 3 skeins of it. And I'm like, what am I mean, because I can make 1,400 hats because it's going to make a lot of hats. Or I can figure out something else to make. So I started thinking and I'm like, what about a blanket, like a baby blanket? So I started thinking about, well, what can I do? How can I kind of get this working? So I looked around online and I found somebody mentioning that they had used worsted weight and cranked tubes of 150 rows. And then they ended off the tube. And eventually, once they had enough tubes, they mattress stitched them together. So I'm like, that sounds like something I could do. So I want to show you guys this blanket because it is huge. So I ended up with 5 tubes of 150 rows, and that makes quite a big blanket here. And I had just a teeny tiny bit of yarn left after I worked, I don't want to say border because it's not around the whole blanket. It is around the bind offs of the blanket, and let me show you guys what I mean. So this is the blanket, and this is what we've got here. This is the width of it, and you can see this is the Red Heart Quilt Motif stripes. And I don't know if you guys have seen this yarn or not. This is just an acrylic blanket, just something to throw in the washer and dryer. Now, I don't know if you guys can see, this is like my single crochet. The color changed. I'm trying to show a good spot. I think that's gonna show up okay. So I have a single crochet, And I just did this edge right here, which was the bind off. And then I did that on the other side. And I specifically only did these two sides for the bind off because I didn't have enough yarn. So I used quite a bit of yarn. I used quite a bit of what I had. And I think it ended up being 1,320 yards. Now, that I know that because I've decided I am going to keep spreadsheets this year. So we're doing the yarn stash smash, or yarn smash stash, yarn stash smash. I told Karen, I'm like, that's so catchy, and now I can't even say it right. So one of those things, and we decided we were going to do it, and now I want to keep spreadsheets. So you guys know me. I am not the type of person to really keep track of what I do. Now, if you had asked me how many like hats or sweaters I do a year, I have no clue. I don't log a lot of them on Ravelry. I don't keep count. I want to do all of that. So I have 4 spreadsheets because it was very important to me that I kind of separate machine knitting and crochet and hand knitting. And I wanted to do that because, I mean, obviously machine knitting, you can crank out quite a bit. And it's important for me. I would like to just kind of differentiate the difference. This is how many yards of yarn I used hand knitting or crocheting or machine knitting. So that is what I am going to do. So this was 320 yards. And I really do like it. There are some pictures on the yarn wrapper where it shows you how this yarn works up when you work it with a granny square, and they're making it out to be like it's kind of a quilt motif. And I had thought that, you know, you could definitely do that, but I liked doing it this way. I thought that this is great. This is very, you know, I know people go, you know, red heart scratchy, and it can be difficult to deal with, but this is not that bad. Typical acrylic. I mean, it's not the softest I felt. It's not scratchy. I wouldn't consider it scratchy. To me, my children's blankets, I feel like it's within that soft range. And so that's what's going to happen to it. My daughter saw it and she's like, oh, I really like that. And, you know, it's pink and purples and blues. And yeah, she's going to end up with it. It is quite like a huge... I've tried to show it all to you guys, but I don't have very good wingspan, and I can't stand. If you guys are new here, I'm paralyzed, so it's not that I don't want to stand to show you, it's that I can't. But I was happy with this, and so it got me thinking that there's a cat cafe. It is pretty close to around here. And I'm like, I should reach out and ask the owner if they have any use for like these acrylic pet blankets, pet pads, kind of like, I'm thinking something like a rectangle that maybe a cat could use to lay on, things like that. Maybe it's a silly idea and they'll have no use and they'll say no, or maybe they'll have a use. But either way, I feel like if not, I could make some acrylic blankets like this and figure out a place that would have a use for them, a place that would have a use for acrylic blankets. So I do have some wool that I could make up into blankets as well. But if I do that, that will be specifically for my children, because I don't ever want to donate something that I don't know how the person who received it would, how would they know, right? How would they know to hand wash it? And that's not always, it's not easy for other people to hand wash garments or blankets, so I stick with acrylic when I donate. And let me fold this back up, kind of put it off to the side. This was, and you know, it is made with tubes of knitting, so it is double thick. It is very comfy and cozy. And one thing I do like about the double thick blankets is you can also use a lighter weight yarn. DK, I would say you could probably even you could use a lighter weight yarn like a fingering. It would be holey, so you don't want to let little ones use a blanket like that. But I mean, you just kind of have to work it up and see what happens, because I've worked with some lighter weight fingering yarns where the halo the halo makes the material much more solid than it actually is. So it just depends. Okay, that is my machine knitting, and that's kind of my machine knitting thought process. I am going to be making some baby blankets. I don't want to say baby blankets in particular, just acrylic blankets that different people might have a use for. And I have no particular, it doesn't matter to me what type of charity I donate them to or who ends up getting them. They could be sold for profit to benefit a charity, different things like that. So if you guys know of anybody that needs blankets like this, or hats, or scarves, or cowls, just let me know. I still have a couple. I still have 2 containers. I have sent quite a bit off, but I still have more. So let's get into hand knitting, because unfortunately I don't have any crochet to show you this week. Mattress stitching that blanket together, and I'm actually really kind of excited about this. So sorry, I'm going to talk about the machine knitting just for one more second. Mattress stitching those tubes together is going to be really good practice for me, and that makes me super happy, because if there's one thing I need to work on this year, it is finishing. I really want to spend time learning how to finish. I want to do a better job at it. So I feel like kind of leaning into making the acrylic blankets to practice mattress stitching will be a good thing. Okay, now let's talk about hand knitting. Sorry guys, sometimes I get so excited about crafting that I really love to share with you and talk about it. And I know that you guys understand what I mean, because you're my people, right? I feel like as crafters, we know what it's like to just get super excited about crafting and love to share and talk about it. Okay, let's talk about hand knitting. So last week I showed you a hat that basically a yarn kit of a hat that I got for Christmas from my husband. Now, this was Shining String Studio, and the kit was supposed to be a hat and a cowl. Now, I decided not to make the cowl, and I wanted to kind of make the hat, but make the hat once and then do the inverse of it. So I would have basically an inverted hat. Now, when you look at the colors, you will 100% think that these colors are me, because they are. So this is the hat, and I did finish it. I did not block it. I have not had a chance to, because I actually bound this off yesterday during Zoom knitting, and there was a Zoom knit, and it was on the 1st of July, wow, the 1st of January. So I kind of jumped on for a little bit, and there was one other person there, and you know who you are, and I did not ask if I could say your name, but we had an awesome conversation, and she's from Australia. And by the way, I wore this on purpose because I wanted to show you the Australian robin yarn that I was talking about. This is yarn from Woolly Mama Yarn, and it was a mystery, kind of a mystery yarn. And I saw the picture, the inspiration picture, and it was a pink robin, and I'm like, oh, I love that. So I immediately got enough to make a sweater. This sweater is a machine knit sweater as well. So, okay, back to this. Sorry, guys. I am one that can just see a tangent and follow it along. But this was the hat that I made from the Shining String Studio Kit, and I bound it off during Zoom knitting, and I love it. I think that it's so cute. This is going to be the one for my daughter, and I'm going to block it, and hopefully I'll be able to show you both this one and the inversed one that I've started next week blocked. I don't know if they'll both be blocked next week, but I've got my fingers crossed because I feel color work, especially when we're talking about wool, really shines after it's blocked. Now, if it's acrylic with wool, definitely. I feel like the wool kind of settles best after it's blocked. So I feel like this color work kind of shows messy stitches until it's blocked. But I did love this pattern. I'm very happily knitting on a second one. It's worsted weight yarn. It did not take that much yarn. In fact, kind of let me grab my rainbow bag here because it's rainbow. I love it. Okay, let me show you the yarn that I have left. Now, keep in mind, I've cast on for the other one. So you can kind of see there's a teeny tiny bit of the pink, a bit more of the pink gone than the black, which is going to make sense when I show you what I have knit up so far. So this is the second one, and let me grab it out here, and here we go. Uh-oh, kind of pull it back some. Now, this is basically going to start at pink and then end up here at black. So basically the inverse of this. And one is going to be for me, which is this one right here. Yes, I think it's this one. Because this one's going to be more pink, and I think my daughter's going to go for that. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You guys don't care. One for me and one for my daughter. And I've just been having so much fun with this yarn. After working on my son's fingering weight sweater for so long, working with worsted weight it's so refreshing. And it's great for like an easy win, and I've just kind of enjoyed doing it, especially with what am I trying to say? I have to think about it for a second, and the reason I have to think about it is because there's a cardinal outside my window and I hear it peeping and it distracted me. So I can't remember. It doesn't matter. We live in Michigan, and there's snow outside on the ground, and we have been seeing all sorts of cardinals flying around. We have a bird feeder that has one of those cameras, and we ended up putting some of this special type of suet, I think that's how you pronounce it, and it's mixed with some hot stuff to make the squirrels not like it. and the squirrels absolutely despise it and the birds love it. So we are very excited that we have that now, because before we would fill up the bird feeder and the squirrels would clear it out, like the entire thing, in less than a day. So the birds are very happy and we're happy, and we've been seeing a ton of cardinals in the snow and it's super exciting. Okay, I'm done geeking out about birds. Back to knitting. I am hoping that, well, no, I'm going to definitely have enough. I'm hoping that I get as close as possible to finishing off these skeins, because I would like to kind of use the rest on this hat, but I haven't weighed them yet, so I'm not sure exactly where I am. I should have weighed them, but it's just not I have a scale. Let's see. Let's not say shoulda, and let's actually see how much I have used. So the charcoal is 64.5 grams, and the pink is, I'm trying to remember what that was called. It was peony, I think, something like that, bright peony. It's 55.3. So I should be pretty close to using all of this, and that makes my heart happy. Maybe I'll be able to make some sort of headband with the remnants of it. Something very, thin. Obviously, you can't make a huge headband with what's left, but I'm thinking maybe I'll be able to make something very small. So if you guys have any ideas of what you're going to be able to make with a teeny tiny bit of worsted weight yarn, let me know down below. There is that cat. What is that cat pattern called? Like beans or something? I'll put it up on the screen. It's like this little cute cat. And I would love to make one of those. And a pink cat would be very cute. And a charcoal colored cat would be very cute. Okay. That is the hat that I have been, well, the hats, I should say, that I have been kind of hand knitting. I really do like that pattern. It has been a lot of fun. I love how it starts out one color with the main color, and then it kind of swaps at the end. That is, I don't want to say, it entertained me. I love how it started off right here, this dark color, and then I kind of swapped right up here. So, I don't know. Let's see. I have one more thing to show you, and then we can kind of talk about New Year's goals and resolutions. So, I have re-pulled out, let me kind of unattach the yarn here, because I've got, well, I can't unattach it completely, but I have a bunch of minis going on. So if you guys have watched previous videos, you'll know what this is. This is my sock arm cardigan, and hopefully I can put it into a good position to show you without knocking everything over, but we'll have to see. I have 3 strings attached to the sleeves. So this is my sock arms cardigan. And let me put this bag over there. And if I have decided to modify the pattern, and it's not that I don't love the pattern as it is, because I do. If you haven't seen it, you basically take some self-striping sock yarn and you work the sleeves, which come out super cute. But what I decided to do was take a sock pattern, socks that are inspired by The Legend of Zelda, and then make the sleeves in the color work pattern. So this is what I have so far. I wonder if this is gonna show up okay. Yeah, so this is what I have so far, and I'm very excited that I've got the placement right. And this is the placement that I wanted. If you look at the socks, there's front and back, And this is the front of them. And then on the back over here is going to be the Triforce. So if you're geeky like me, you know what I mean. And this is just going to be one of those things that I love, because things like this are why I knit, or I crochet, or I craft, because I can take things that are in my head and then kind of make them a reality. It entertains me. I love it. So this is where we are so far. I have not been, sorry, I'm trying to think of how to put this. I have not been having as much fun with this one as I have with the hats. And it's because it's using fingering weight yarn. It has a ton of color changes. There's a bunch of little itty bitty spots where you use like one color, and it's a lot, but it's going to be a labor of love. And once I'm done with this sleeve, I'm gonna go over here and do the other side with the green sleeve, basically the Link inspired sleeve. And after that, after I have the sleeves done, I'm going to think about maybe taking out right here and making this thicker. I feel like I'm gonna want that, but we're going to see. I've already taken it out and redone it once, but I'm just not sure how wide I want the ribbing to be. And it's just me being indecisive. I can be very indecisive sometimes, but we're just gonna go with it. And that is why I'm working on the sleeves right now instead. I have not wound in, or I have not woven in any ends, and I've done that on purpose. I do not want to weave anything in until I am completely done with this sleeve. The reason is because what if I get all the way down and then I'm like, I don't like this. I want to try a different method, something different for catching my floats, or some finishing that I think would look better if I did it this way instead. You guys know how I am. If I don't like it when I'm done, what's the point? I was reading a book, and the main character's mom had this saying, and it was something like, if you don't try your hardest, then what's the point? And I feel like that is something that encapsulates me. So, okay, that is my Zelda cardigan. I'm hoping I can get much more work done on it in the upcoming week. I've been kind of slacking on it more than, I didn't get as much done as I thought I should have. Let's just leave it at that. I haven't necessarily been slacking on it, but I feel like there were lots of times where I was like looking at Ravelry or Instagram. I know you guys feel me, right? And it's sometimes social media can be a time sink. So I feel like I could have spent that time doing something more productive, like my Zelda cardigan. Okay, let's talk about New Year's and new goals and new resolutions. So first off, I want to say I don't do resolutions, but I will set some goals. And I feel like I like terming them as goals a little bit better because they seem more realistic to me, something that I'm going to work towards instead of kind of just trying to do. I don't know. I do not know if that makes any sense, but that's kind of how I approach it. One of the things that I want to do, and I've mentioned this previously in this earlier, I mentioned this, I want to work on finishing. I want to get better at finishing by weaving in ends. And I also want to get better at finishing in terms of, and I don't know if this would be considered finishing or color work, but bear with me. So I also want to get better at floats with color work. And I know my long-term viewers, I know that you've heard this before because I said this last year, I believe, as well. But color work is something my heart really loves. I really love color work, and I have a lot of fun doing color work. So I would really like to get better at carrying my floats with color work and carrying my floats and investigating ladderback jacquard. And I've had a lot of trouble doing this in the past, and my brain has issues, I guess, with taking a pattern and adding extra stitches that you would need for ladderback jacquard, like figuring out the placement and where to put them. So I am going to try to work on getting better in that regard, as well as, what else? Can you hear my cat snoring? He's sleeping on our bed and snoring. He's having a grand old time. But if you hear snoring, that's what's happening. That's who that is. It's my 20-year-old male cat. He loves to sleep on our bed, and we actually have cat mats, like a cat mat on our bed, and he loves it. So that's his spot, or at least the spot that's his right now. That cat and the other cat kind of fight for the cat spots on the bed, and I don't really know why, because there's two mats, but they will swap back and forth. So I've talked about finishing. That is one thing that I would really like to work on, and finishing in terms of seaming pieces together, in terms of weaving in ends, because I just don't think I do as well as I think I should in that regard. So I would really like to find a way to weave ends in that I like enough to consistently do. So let's table that for a second. I did mention color work, and the other thing that I would like to maybe take a look at would be cable knitting. I do love cables, and I would like to maybe get a little bit better at cables, maybe combine cables and color work. I have seen some patterns that do that. That might be something fun to look into. And basically just get better as a knitter overall. Maybe have less of, I have to restart my son's sweater over again, and more of just getting it right the first time. But I feel like some of it is my personality as well, because I do like to try my best. So, okay, I think that is it. It's a short episode this week. We are getting back into the swing of things starting on Monday. All the extracurricular stuff starts back up, all the school, the work, and it's just gonna be kind of scattered this weekend. So I wanted to film something, but I just need to be mindful of the time. I am going to stop talking about knitting and crocheting. So if that's all you're here for, I thank you so much for stopping by. Leave a comment if you do want to be entered into next week's giveaway, or if you could, please, sorry, I hate to ask this. This makes me feel bad to ask, but if you could, please give this video a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Okay, let's talk about reading, because I have read some fun books this last week and a half. I started reading Gone Before Goodbye. And this was one that I had really wanted to read. It is by Harlan Coben and Reese Witherspoon. So I really like this book. Now, if you look online, there's a lot of people that really didn't like this book. I really like this book up until the epilogue. And when I read the epilogue, I'm like, wait, what? And I actually had to Google what happened. I don't consider myself... let me rephrase this. I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of things when I read them. And with this epilogue, I had no clue. So it was very ambiguous, the ending. And if that is something that would bother you, keep that in mind. I really like the book other than that, though. I also read Gray After Dark, and I love this book. How can I explain this one? This is about a girl, a lady, she's in her 20s, so a woman. It is about a woman who starts work at a summer camp, and she's a biathlon athlete. I think that's what we want to say. And she is very fit, very active, and she gets kidnapped by these guys. And it is a good book. Thumbs up. I really did like it. And you know what? I can't say that. I cannot say it without ruining it, so I'm not going to say it, but just thumbs up. The book that I am reading right now is by Riley Sager, and I really liked the last one left by Riley Sager, so I'm excited to read this. This is by Riley Sager, I already said that, and it's called The House Across the Lake. It is about an actress, and she's an alcoholic, and, an actress, and she drinks a lot. And the author lets you know that she drinks a lot and that people in her life think that she has a problem. However, she does not think she has a problem, which is fair enough. She has recently, like within the last year, lost her husband. And after that, she's basically turned to alcohol as a way to cope. And this is what the narrator says. So, how to explain this without like letting too much go? That is what I struggle with when I tell you guys about the books I'm reading. So there's a house across the lake, and it's very rear window-ish. Have you guys seen that about the neighbor who's spying on his neighbors and he thinks he sees something happen and he's not sure? Think that. Okay. That is basically all of my books that I've been reading. I did tell you guys that I read Europa by Greg Beck, and I really like that. I love sci-fi though, so if you guys love sci-fi, I would recommend reading it. It is about a space team that goes to Europa, and they run into something that they are not prepared to deal with, and that's all I'm going to tell you. It is very science fiction, so if you're a geek like me, you might want to take a look at that. Okay. That's it for me. We have been dealing with a lot of illness in December. We started off December with COVID. My son never tested positive for COVID, but he was sick the entire month and he is still coughing. My daughter last week went to urgent care because of an ear infection. It was, I think, Christmas Eve, and you're not going to get a doctor's appointment then. So she had to go to urgent care for that. And now, as my son is finally getting better, my husband is sick. So it is what it is. My daughter just told me earlier that she's not feeling the best, and she thinks that she is also getting what my son had. So keep your fingers crossed that they all get better soon, because I am sick of being inside the house. We don't want to go anywhere because if they're all sick and coughing, I mean, yeah. So I'm sick of being inside. Get better. Come on, spring. Fingers crossed. Okay, guys. I am happy that you spent this time with me, and hopefully we'll have a lot of stuff to talk about with the yarn stash smash, because I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited about kind of promoting using stash and using what we have and just kind of working from there. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you next week. Bye.